Poor Roseanne.
Oh, say, can you see by the
Oh, gosh, I forgot about this.
what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose breath
Didn't she spit after this?
They grabbed her crotch.
She grabbed her crotch and spit?
Yeah. After she sang it, she grabbed her crotch and spit like a baseball player because she was at Jack Murphy Stadium.
And obviously she thinks this is funny and nobody else does.
Yeah, everybody was booing her at Jack Murphy Stadium that day.
Wait, can you imagine if she did this today? With all the kneeling and everything going on in the NFL and how fired up people are about the national anthem?
This is the thing with comedians is their job is to push the envelope. I was watching an interview with Dennis Miller the other day. He was talking to Larry King. Larry King does like a YouTube show now. And it didn't have that many views. Yeah, there she does, the crotch and the spit thing. And, I mean, this is what comedians do. This is their job to push the envelope. And this is what she tried to do with the Twitter account. And
I know.
I feel bad for Roseanne because she gets in her own way. This is what she's done her entire career is she messes things up for herself. Like if
she's always done this. Yeah, she just got over this, and then she just got her sitcom back. And then, if you didn't hear, the Roseanne show has been canceled because of a tweet that she sent out about someone who worked for Barack Obama and then the administration. When we come back, we'll get to what she wrote.
Yeah, and the PC avalanche continues because there's now more breaking news.
I can't believe that you're actually coming through. I can't believe you're actually siding with Roseanne on this. I disagree.
I'm not siding with Roseanne on it, but I got to tell you what Dennis Miller said, and he quoted Jerry Seinfeld on playing college campuses. Both of them won't do it anymore. Comedians won't. Comedians are falling to the wayside because it's harder and harder for them to practice their craft.
It's much tougher to be a comedian in today's politically correct world that we live in.
This is the subject of the SurfNet Communications poll question. You can check it out. KZOZ.com will dissect it and give you the new breaking news on Roseanne as now more bad news comes out stemming from yesterday's cancellation of the highly popular reboot of her sitcom. Now she and the rest of the cast are going to lose more money as a result of this. Maybe this is a lesson to be learned by many of folk out there that like to get political on Facebook or Twitter from this. You know, like you get political on Facebook and Twitter and you say things, and you know, depending on who your employer is, your employer now has the grounds to say, "Oh, we don't like you working here."
You have to be accountable for everything that you do. And I was thinking when I heard this, I'm like, God, 20 years ago she wouldn't have done this because there wasn't a Twitter.
Yeah, she would not have had the avenue.
10 years ago, she probably wouldn't have done it. But
she would have been relegated to singing the national anthem before a Padres game.
And I was just thinking, like, boy, how accountable we have to be for everything we do now with social media. It's not like. It's not like we could just say things and make jokes. And I know where you're going with this. Comedians are supposed to take these edgy angles. But once you get borderline racist, from what I read the tweet, and it seemed racist when you start calling someone of color from Planet of the Apes. I mean, that's just somewhere you don't go.
But I was thinking about this last night. And
there's got to be, I'm sorry to cut you off. Let me finish my thought. There's got to be some form of accountability as a public figure, as a comedian, as someone that you have a lot of followers. You have to be accountable for what you do. And even if you're made a bad joke, you have to be accountable for it. And in this case, she's not the only one that loses. Everybody on that show loses.
Anonymous text in on the 805 beer text line says what she did was not political. It was racial. Yeah, that was racist. What she even said, though. And here's the thing, okay? Everybody needs to just take a deep breath. Okay. After tweeting it, she came out and she said, wow, that was wrong. Okay. I should not have tweeted that. That was insensitive, and I should not have done it.
It was after she got fired. She didn't do it right away. It took several hours, I think it was 4 hours. And ABC had already fired or canceled the show.
Well, maybe.
And then she came out, and then now she's using this excuse that she was on Ambien.
Yeah,
And the people in Ambien sent out a tweet saying Ambien doesn't make you, just so you know, the side effect of Ambien doesn't make you racist. Now, this guy, when he writes in about the political side of things,
Ambien does some things, though.
We're not bringing up anything political. This just happened to be a woman that works in politics. Mm. But this is where the CNNs, the Fox Newses, the MSNBCs, the networks that rely on politics to get their viewers,
to drive
they're making it political. This isn't political. This has nothing to do with Donald Trump. People are coming out saying, oh, it starts at the top with Donald. What does it have to do with Donald Trump? This has nothing to do with Donald Trump.
I had no idea that, and I don't care, but I always thought Roseanne was a liberal. I had no idea.
I did too until recently,
yesterday.
Yeah.
Until yesterday, but that has no bearing whatsoever. First and foremost, I think she is a comedian, and she was trying to make a joke, and she missed the mark horribly with that joke. It was a racist tweet that she sent. I'm not going to deny that, okay? But I used to, or I still do from time to time, if I get a chance. I'll listen to Jim Rome, okay? And Jim Rome, sports talk radio guy, he used to refer to. I'm talking years ago, okay? And I thought this was the funniest damn thing in the world, okay? And he's part comedian. That's part of his job, okay? He's supposed to get people to laugh a little bit while listening about sports information on the radio, okay? And when Patrick Ewing played in the NBA, he used to refer to Patrick Ewing as Dionne Warwick, all right? Because he looked like Dionne Warwick. I thought that was hilarious.
Okay. I unfortunately don't know who either one of these people look like. I've heard their names. I just don't know what they look like.
Google both of them, and you'll see that they look that they do look alike. Dionne Warwick is, I think she was Whitney Houston's aunt. She was a singer in the 70s.
What's his Patrick's last name?
Ewing. Ewing.
Ewing?
Yeah. And just type in and Dionne because it'll pull up Dionne Warwick because it was that popular. But today, if Jim Rome were to make that joke, that would be called by some people a racist joke. And I thought it was damn funny. Somebody just texted in on the 805 Beer text line. They're like, did you see the woman she was talking about? Now, I don't agree with this at all, but people drew the correlation. They saw what she was talking about. That's part of her job as a comedian. She's supposed to be funny. But she definitely missed the mark on this one. Now, remember Michael Richards when he went all Ku Klux Klan on the black people in the audience at his stand-up show?
Yeah.
And he was blacklisted, and rightfully so, because he was calling them the N-word to their faces.
It killed his career.
I mean, it was, and it should have killed him.
I mean, I don't know if there was really much of a career. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dionne Warwick. Okay.
What? She looks like Patrick Ewing, right?
I guess there's some, I don't know. I guess, yeah, they look like they could be related. I got to be careful what I say right now. I know. I understand. It's not very nice. But Dionne Warwick is much prettier.
But don't you feel like ABC, got way out in front, almost too far out in front of this?
Okay, let's look at Starbucks for a second, okay? The CEO, I forget his name off the top of my head.
Howard Schultz.
Schultz, yeah.
Oh, is it Howard Schultz anymore?
Yeah,
it is?
I think so. He came out right away and addressed that situation, and he had to, and he's been commended for it. And ABC will be commended for it because in this day and age, you have to get out in front of these things before it seems like you didn't do anything. And then all of a sudden people start attacking your brand, which at the end of the day, it was much more cost effective to lose a show that was, even though it was making millions and millions per episode because it was so popular. At the end of the day, that was more cost effective than what was going to happen if they didn't do something about it. And she made a huge mistake. I'm pissed off if I'm, any of the co-stars on this. Darlene,
Becky,
John Goodman.
Like Becky had.
What's John Goodman doing?
You know what's funny?
Nothing.
Is yesterday,
Darlene.
Yesterday morning, they started running a new promo for ABC News, and it was supposed to be like, our news is honest and we give you the facts and all that stuff. But you know who voiced it? John Goodman. Is John Goodman going to maintain to be the voice of ABC News now? Because he was the voice of ABC News as of yesterday morning.
Yeah, he didn't make the comments. Yeah, he will. He'll continue to do it.
Oh, he will.
I didn't know he was the voice of ABC News.
Well, no, it was a brand new promo. I mean, it just launched. And it was probably due to this, because ABC, what ABC does,
they couldn't obscuring him.
what ABC does better than anybody is they cross promote their products. So by having John Goodman be the voice of ABC News as this trustworthy American dad, that you are very recognizable, you recognize his voice very easily, then you have him be the voice of it, and then it makes people automatically, subconsciously think of Roseanne. Well, now they want to distance themselves from Roseanne as much as they possibly can. Now, we're asking you the question, was it right for ABC to pull Roseanne based on the tweets that she sent? We gave you three options. One was, she's texting racist things that ultimately the network has to play the public relations game. No, she was one cast member who apologized, and comedians should get a break. Sometimes they miss the mark in an effort to be funny. And your third choice is not sure. This one's a bit tricky.
I think you have to put yourself as the owner of a company, and you have an employee do something like this. I think that definitely changes your answer. And I don't think it puts you on the fence anymore. I think you say yes. If now all of a sudden this is going to fall back on me because I employ her.
In the climate on May 29th, because that's when this happened, 2018, yes. But if this would happen 4 years ago, I don't know. I don't know if she would have lost her job, if the sitcom would have got canceled. It is a pressure cooker of tension right now, racially, in this country. It goes from, the NFL, calling Kaepernick, Starbucks guys, it seems like everything is racist. There is some kind of racist tinge to everything in the world. And I'm not defending what Roseanne said by any stretch, but I also have to consider, how come we're not taking a moment here to consider the source? Okay? Consider the source. It's a term that we've it's a cliche. We've worked it into our psyche. Okay? Consider the source. It's Roseanne. She is back in the 80s, she was a
highly offensive,
controversial comedian.
Yeah.
Through the 90s, she was a controversial comedian. She's been controversial her entire career.
There's no room for it anymore. Not in today's day and age. You can't do it anymore.
And
it's got to be tough to be a comedian. I mean,
goes back to
go out and do that and to be edgy and to push that envelope is something that it's really hard to do.
Dennis Miller was sitting down with Larry King on his YouTube show. And Larry King asked him, is it hard to be a comedian? He's like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done being a comedian. I might do like 3 or 4 gigs a year, but I got to know the room. I'm going to, know the situation. I'm going to control it, and I'm going to sit there on my deck in Santa Barbara and drink beers from time to time, Eat the food I want to eat. I'm in semi-retirement is what he said, because it's not the climate for comedians right now. He said, I was talking to Jerry Seinfeld the other day. I asked Jerry, I said, hey, will you play college campuses? Jerry said, no, there's no way I'd play a college campus right now. The overall atmosphere on a college campus, he said, and I'm paraphrasing here because I got to remember what he said, but he said the overall feeling on a college campus is that you can't be not scrutinized for anything that comes out of your mouth. So why would I risk, my career on playing a college campus if I said the wrong thing in trying to make a joke in front of these college students who are just chomping at the bit to pounce on anything that is said or done during my stand-up. And this is Jerry Seinfeld, okay? This isn't like Roseanne.
Right.
This is Jerry. Jerry talks about, pubes on the wall in the shower. He's afraid to go talk about pubes on the wall in the shower in somebody else's house on a college campus because that might offend somebody.
Because somebody there will have a hairless condition where they can't grow pubes, and they'll say he highly offended me, and that will be the story. That's just the world we live in now.
I'm suing the university because they were insensitive to my needs to grow body hair.
It's just interesting to me, from baby boomers to Gen X to now millennials, and how different our generations have become.
Or even Generation Y now. Going on.
So different. I wanted to take a minute to answer some texts on the 805 text line. Is that cool?
Perfect.
Things we didn't get to. We are giving away the mac and cheese tickets. If you text cheese to 543-3693, it will enter you in just cheese. Some people are putting emojis. You don't automatically get in. You have to just text the word cheese.
And I notice a lot of people have been texting the word cheese and then putting their name after it.
Yeah, that doesn't work either.
And that won't enter you to win. So just type cheese.
It's not an intelligent computer.
We'll call you and we'll ask you what your name is if you get picked.
And we are giving those away on Friday. So make sure you do that text right now. Let's see here. David says we're right on today with the Roseanne stuff. We actually had a guy that wanted to weigh in on that. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I heard you touching on the topic of Roseanne and, your employer, and she tweeted this and that. She got fired for it, through the employer. And it touches on the fact that with the guys kneeling and everything in the NFL, you do something against your employer or something they don't want you to do, you get fired. But it's a touchy subject with the NFL because you start firing these superstars. They're a commodity where they draw a lot of money into the sport and all that. So I just thought it was funny topic that you touched on about, hey, you got your employer, you messed up and you get fired, So
yeah, it's funny because same could be said for Roseanne. They immediately announced after like 3 weeks of the reboot that they were going to pick it up for a second season,
right?
Because it was doing so successful and doing so well. And people were watching it, and they were making a lot of money on it. So they were making a lot of money on it. Mm-hmm. But then, Jeremy, I think you brought up a very good point earlier when you said that, ultimately you got to cut your losses because if you start facing backlash from all these other groups that start boycotting you. Look how much money Fox News lost when it came out that O'Reilly was a pervert. Was a perv, yeah, and they
didn't do anything.
They stood by their guy. And then finally, eventually, the House of Cards fell and they had to get rid of him because they were losing so much money because people started boycotting him.
Right.
That's what ABC was facing.
It's tough enough
to have the boycott.
To have a Twitter account nowadays, let alone have your own corporation and your company and hire all these people to work for you. It's very tricky. And even though you feel like, like the Starbucks thing, and I brought this up a couple weeks ago, I was like, it's still a private business and you have right to refuse service to anyone, whatever happened to that. But in this day and age, you can't do that. Not if someone isn't white.
You know what I hope this ultimately ends up in? In a big push of people to get off of Twitter and to get off of Facebook and to just start having conversations.
Just start talking to people.
Start having conversations with one another.
Hey, I'm glad you called in instead of texting that or tweeting it or whatever.
Well, touching on the topic that you just said about how you start losing money and stuff, and I thought I read something about the NFL losing, people watching the show. I know Papa John's departed. Did they start? I believe maybe they start to lose a little bit here. In terms of viewing,
yeah,
ratings?
They did, but a lot of that is attributed to other things, like the NFL's on every night now, it seems. So their numbers on Sundays, when they were just on Sundays and Mondays, are going to go down because you can catch it on Thursday. Sometimes in December, you can catch it on Saturday, and you're going to catch it on Sunday and Monday.
But I think this definitely had something to do with it.
Well,
I think there was a lot of people that
there's contributing factors. There's also the cord cutters. The people that you can't account for in ratings because they are watching the games through a different source. Then you also have people mobile, doing things mobily and just catching up with the game after the fact. You don't have to sit down and watch an entire game.
Do you see just like Deflategate, Tom Brady going to the courts, going through the motions? Do you see, because I think it's going to happen, where the NFL came up with this rule, no more kneeling except for in the locker room, but the bargaining agreement and the union didn't agree. Do you see this going to court?
Yeah, the NFLPA has already said that they're going to exercise legal options on this.
Do you see it going to court, like the Supreme Court, etc.?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but I
maybe not Supreme Court, but all those courts like Tom Brady went.
I think the NFLPA is going to sue the league and based on precedent. And this will get ugly, and we'll not stop hearing about it. And so we're not going to focus on on actual thing we're tuning in to see, and that's
Right.
guys run and throw a football.
It'll be everything else.
While another team tries to stop them from doing that, but we're going to now tune in to see national anthems.
Yeah, thanks for the call, buddy. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Which prior to,
Bye-bye.
I think it was 2006, they didn't even do them before the games.
Yeah, that's very true. Now, we could literally have a controversy about it.
Right here. There's a timeline, okay? In 2009, that's when the NFL play. It hasn't even been 10 years. NFL players began standing on the field for the national anthem before the start of primetime games. Before this, players would stay in the locker rooms except during the Super Bowl and after 9/11. So they would come out and show their patriotism after 9/11 took place in 2001. And then they would always come out before the Super Bowl. Before 2009, they stayed in the locker room. And we're making a big deal out of something that's not even 10 years old. That they've been doing for 8 years.
It's what people love to do. Love to find something to make a big deal about.
My gosh. It wasn't until the Department of Defense gave the NFL money in what they called paid patriotism to have guys go out and stand on the field. And that's where the NFL is really worried about it. They're like, okay, listen, we got this revenue stream called the federal government. Taxpayers are actually giving us money to watch games if we play a song before the game and you guys stand out there on the field. Get out there and stand on the field.
Jeff and Jeremy in the morning. 93.3 KCOZ rocks.
Have a good morning.